Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome again to our morning high five, Monday morning high five. We are continuing in the book of Joshua, Joshua chapter 2.
Judges.
Today we're at, ah, I said Joshua, thank you. Judges chapter 2. We're going to break it up, going to go from verse 1 to verse 10 because there is a lot that is being set up in chapter 2. Um, and so quick version says the angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochim, and the angel of the Lord basically confronts Israel and lets them know they were given a command, they were given a directive to drive out the people from the land, to drive out their gods, and they did not do what they were commanded to do. And so they're given the consequence, which they had been given before. They had heard before, but the angel of the Lord basically reinforces, okay, now it's a reality, it's a certainty. This is what's going to happen. The people are going to be a thorn in your side. Their gods are going to be a snare to you. And the people, they cried when they heard it. They knew it was coming, I think, but hearing it for real, really, it, as the young people would say, it hits different. It hits different when you like hear it from the angel of the Lord. But then in 6 through 10, it tells us about the death of Joshua, how they they did a decent job of serving God while Joshua and his generation was alive, but after Joshua was gone, the next generation, it says they did not know the Lord or the work he had done for Israel. So somewhere along the line, all of the knowledge of God, all of their purpose, Israel's purpose was to be a witness, that all went by the wayside at some point. And so this next generation is going to have to do it the hard way, apparently. So that's the quick version. That's the quick version. Um, Darnell, you want to start with
Sure.
preparation
So,
point or something?
the point that I wanted to bring up that stood out to me, and that's going to be most prevalent moving forward, um, is verse 2. And verse 2 says, "And I shall make no covenant, and you shall make no covenant with the inhabitants of this land. You shall break down their altars, but you have not obeyed my voice." Um, you're going to see this being prevalent all through the rest of Judges, all while we're doing these high fives and all while we're in this book. You're going to continue to see it. And it's crazy because this is God talking to Israel and telling them, like, I said I will never break my covenant with you. And what I need you to do is you need to go and you need to inhabit your land, the land that I have given you, but you're supposed to drive everybody out and you're supposed to take it over. That's what I'm telling you to do. But you're going to see later on that it doesn't happen. And in the manner that it doesn't happen is so disrespectful. And think about it. This is Israel. This is God's chosen people getting direct orders from God, and God telling them, "Do I need you to do this?" And you go in and you do some of what He say and some of the opposite of what He says. And how prevalent is that in today's day and age when we're told to do things and we're asked to do things for God and we're asked to serve at our churches wholeheartedly. We're asked to be cheerful givers and different things that all these different things that God is asking us to do, we do it somewhat. And God never asks us to do it somewhat. He tells us, this is what I need you to do. I just need you to follow the instructions, and we don't follow instructions. That verse stood out to me. Reason being is because, like I said, we're all gonna see it continually going through Judges. So many judges come up on Israel's behalf, but it's always the start. You're going to realize that Israel continues to go on the cycle, this cycle of we're disobedient, we do this, we get in trouble, we need you, God. God sends somebody, gets us out of it. For a period of time, there's peace, and then right back again, we do something silly, and then we're saying, God, we need you. We need you to send somebody, send another judge, and it continues to happen. And it's really amazing to me to continue to see that through the Bible, and it's prevalent today in today's age, where we continue to do things that is silly. That God is, I, you could almost imagine that God is like, oh my goodness, come on again, again. We just did this again. It's almost like a child. And my last point, I'm sorry to be long winded. That's why we're compared to sheep. That's why we're compared to sheep. We're not the smartest. Like we're nothing without God. Without God's guidance, without Him being prevalent in our life, we're not smart. We don't make the right decisions. So that's why God sent Jesus to be our shepherd, to be the cover over our life, to be the one who guides us. Because without Him, we don't know what to do. So that's verse 2 stuck out to me because we're gonna see it continually moving forward in the Judges. That was basically my point.
Got you. Got you. And my what I saw in here basically was the next verse, verse 3, where it says, "So now I say, I will not drive them out before you, but they shall become thorns in your sides, and their God shall be a snare to you." And these are like familiar words, for me at least, being in church, thorn in your side, snare, familiar words I've heard. But just looking at this and trying to really understand like what that means, I start to think about it. So like a thorn in your side, if you have something hurting in your side, something like pointing pointing in your side, it's going to affect everything that you do. Every movement, every way that you try to walk, sleep, breathe, even, like it's going to affect you. It's going to bother you. You're going to feel and notice that thorn like there. And this is what the angel of the Lord is telling Israel at this time. Like this is what he's going to do. Like because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, now the people are going to be thorns in your side. The people that you didn't kill and drive out, they're now going to bother you and affect everything that you do. All your movements, all the things that you would want to do, like pain free without anybody else bothering you or stopping you, you're now going to have this thorn that you're going to feel every time you try to do something. And this is just it for me. It's just like wow. And then just understanding that second part to it, where he says, "They shall become thorns in your side, and their gods shall be a snare to you." So their gods, the fake gods, are going to be a snare, and a snare is essentially a trap, right? And so the God is saying like their gods, their little gods, are going to be a trap for you, meaning that a trap is something set up to try to get somebody or get an animal's attention, something that they like, something that they would eat. It's a bait that's set up, right? And so the little gods are going to be now bait that Israel is going to look at like, oh, I want that, and they're going to go and they're going to be attracted to it. But
Right.
because a snare is a trap, it's essentially it's a setup, and it's going to, if not kill, it's going to cause severe damage to Israel. All right, and I just that term snare, like I said, I've heard it, but I looked at like just what it really is, and I found this picture of a snare, right? And this is the trap set up, and it's something like on the end of that stick that an animal would want. They're going to be hungry. They're going to run through the forest, whatever, and they're going to see that food, whatever is on the end of that stick, and then they're going to bite it. They're going to try and grab it and eat it because that they're attracted to it. They want that. But you see that rope, that circular rope. once they bite and move that stick, it releases and traps, and their necks are going to be stuck in that wire. That's usually like a hard metal wire that's going to cause severe damage. It's not just a rope that's going to contain. So usually, like from some of the other images, I look, a lot of the animals were dead, or like they had this severe like red scar around their neck from this wire
Right.
tightening around their neck. And this is what God is saying to Israel, like the little gods that you uh, have been chasing after. That's how they're going to end you. That's how you're going to end up in this snare, in this trap. And I just thought that was just so interesting to me, and that just kind of stood out for me looking at these verses.
Real quick. So a snare isn't a drum.
That,
I mean,
not
it is.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we should talk to Lamont. We should let him know because he's in danger.
Right. He's definitely in danger. This
Hey,
whole time, every time the Bible says snare, I thought they were talking about drums. But go ahead. No, just play.
as you were talking, Darnell, like you mentioned, like the disrespect, and I had never really thought about it that way before. But can you imagine if there was a church, right? There's a church building, and it's a church in the front, but then they have like a strip club if you go around the back. Like no, like we're a church, but yeah, like we got strippers in the back, and there's dispensary back there too. But we're mostly devoted to God, though.
Right.
That,
Right.
in a sense, that's the image. They wouldn't drive out these people. God is like you, like all the property was yours. I gave it all to you.
Right.
But you want to? Well, no, I mean they didn't have the stripping business. We don't want to.
Absolutely.
Like now the church is making the money off of the strippers. So
Absolutely.
like,
Right. That's a funny way to put it, but it's almost you can see that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They wanted what they had. Like some of the stuff that they were doing, they were like, oh, that's cool. Like we could keep that.
Right.
Y'all can stay here and continue to do that because it's gonna benefit everybody. So y'all can stay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not what I told y'all to do.
Right. Right. I just, as you were talking about, I was like, man, I can see why God would be upset. Like, what are y'all? What?
Yeah, right.
So the point I was looking at is verse 10. It says, and all that generation also were gathered to their fathers. So all of Joshua's generation, they passed away. They were gathered to their fathers. And there arose another generation after them who did not know the Lord or the work that he had done for Israel. And there's a lot that you could say about that verse. It's crazy because Israel is supposed to be God's witness to the rest of the world. Like all the people around Israel were supposed to look and see that Israel had a God, and that God took care of them, that God provided for them. They were supposed to be letting the other people know our God is real. And when Joshua's generation dies, they hadn't even told their children. They apparently, like this next generation, it says they didn't know the Lord. So it doesn't say if the parents didn't tell them, if they didn't believe the parents. I don't know where the disconnect happened. But yeah, it happened. They didn't know God. They didn't know what God had done. They didn't really feel that same sense of allegiance to God. Like, okay, God who? Like, well, okay, but we grew up here. We were born here. I don't know what you're talking about. So I just thought about it just in the sense of how relevant that should be for us as disciples, that we're supposed to be trying to make an impact for God in the world, to the unsaved, but we should also make sure even the people we're connected to, like our our friends, our family. Like, how are we telling everybody else, and our own relatives are like, God, who? Well, I don't know. Like, I know Darnell goes to church, but I don't know God. Like, yeah, Rich is worship leader, but I don't. He ain't said nothing to me about God. Like, I don't know. So I think like it's kind of a conviction. Like, yeah, we're as disciples, we're supposed to be letting everyone know, especially those connected to us.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the whole generation. They like, I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, and then like you said, I mean, as we continue to move forward, we see exactly how it plays out, and it's not good. It's not pretty at all. So,
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
you're right.
It's not good.
That's a spoiler alert,
Man.
man. Yeah. Anything else?
uh,
Yeah, I wanted to. Oh, go ahead, Rich. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, looking at that last part, like, or the work that he had done for Israel,
Right.
that I think it's I don't know how it portrayed out, but it seems like it's one of those things where they never gave God credit for where they were or how they got there. So like maybe the kids ask like, how we end up here? Oh, we just traveled through the forest and came out
Right.
and we got here. Like it's for us. It can be as simple as like when God blesses us with a job. It's like, oh, I just worked hard and went to school. Like not knowing the work of God, that God was with you, God bless you, God allows you to get to this point, but it's just you just leave God out of it.
Or
And
not
that
acknowledge them. Right.
attributes
Right.
not acknowledging, and it just attributes like, oh well, you did it, this was you,
Right.
like, and
Right.
just to not the work of God, like how do they not know about the Red Sea? Like how do they not
Right.
know about the water coming out of rocks and all these miracles that God had did for them? Like how does that just is never heard of?
Right.
But like I say, we can do the same thing today for all God is doing in our lives, and we just not
So,
acknowledge it, not tell of it, and it's just forgotten, and they wouldn't know. So
right. Yeah. My point kind of went hand in hand with Richard. It's like God did all these things through years. This is years. Like Joshua lived to be 100 some years old. That's just Joshua.
Right.
Moses was up there in age.
Right.
Like Israel was in the wilderness for 40 years. Like all this time goes by, all these miracles, just like Richard just said, and y'all don't you like what's the scripture that says like you're overcome by the word of your testimony or something like that. Or I hear preachers say it a lot, and that's kind of where it goes. Like all those things that y'all went through, that you went through it so that you can tell other people about it. That's how you're a witness. When
yeah.
God does something in your life, you're supposed to witness to other people and tell them what God has done so that they can see. And now they get that curiosity, like, oh, let me go see about that person who, or I mean, the person who got them through the Red Sea, had millions go through the Red Sea. Let me go through this person who made water come out of a rock. Let me go see who this person is that y'all are continually talking about. And then it baffles me that years down the road, years down the road, these people know nothing. Like this younger generation knows nothing about anything. And it's this exact same. I'm sorry for making the same point as Richard, but
No.
it's it's baffling that y'all didn't say nothing. Can you imagine God just like, I've kept y'all for years and y'all ain't said nothing. Y'all don't tell them anything. How do they know? How do they not know about me?
Well, no,
Like
I mean,
that goes with the disrespect. That's disrespectful for somebody to continually be there for you to get you out of all these situations, and then now generations later they don't know me or they don't even care to know me.
Well,
But they
I
know
mean,
me enough. They know me enough to when something happens, they know who to cry out to.
yeah, I mean, I was looking at it. Remember, we read in Joshua when they crossed the Jordan, they
Yeah.
set up the stones and they
Yeah.
inscribed like this. They created a memorial to God.
Right.
Remember the tribes that lived on the other side of the Jordan created an altar so that the people on the the west side of the Jordan would know, hey, we're aligned with you. Like our God is your God.
Right.
All of
Yeah.
those memorials, they just became rocks, I guess. Like, oh,
Right.
I mean, like this big rock structure, but I
Right.
Right.
mean, we still don't know God. I don't know why they set those rocks like that, but we don't know God.
Right.
Right.
That's great.
I think it like you are both saying, like it goes to the danger of you can have all this experience, you can set up these things that are supposed to remind you, but if you're not intentional about really making sure I'm connected,
Yeah.
it's you look up and like, nah, I could it's like when you have your phone and all of a sudden it's like signal lost. Like what? I didn't even signal lost.
Right.
Like that's pretty much how it happens. Like
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Anything else? That's a good 10 verses, right?
Right. That definitely was a good 10
Yeah.
verses. It definitely
Good
was a
10
good 10 verses.
verses. All right, well,
Just wait to
yeah,
see what happens. Wait to see what happens. I
right.
remember before we even started this, before when we got finished with the last book, you had said, "Yo, some interesting stories in Judges,"
There are.
and I
Are
feel like I don't how far am I? I am pretty far, and it never like I'm like 15 chapters in already, just on my own personal study, and I'm already like, wow, Eric wasn't lying. It gets real.
yeah, yeah. There, yeah. Well,
It gets
yeah. Let's stop here because
right.
we,
Right.
we really appreciate you all for joining us for the morning high five. If God says the same, we'll be back next week. We will finish off the second chapter. Major spoiler alerts, and then yeah, we appreciate you. Hope you have a great rest of your Monday.
Enjoy.